Hi, I'm David. So for this problem, we're given an equation, 3 minus 4 times cosine of x squared is equal to 0. And they want us to find x. So in order to isolate x, we need to move everything that's not x to the other side of the equation. So let's start by subtracting 3 on both sides. That leaves us with negative 4 times cosine of x squared, equaling negative 3. And now we can divide both sides by negative 4. This cancels the negative 4 out. So now we're left with cosine of x squared is equal to positive 3/4 because the negative signs cancel out. And now in order to turn this cosine squared into just a regular cosine, we can take the square root of both sides. Right? So that leaves us with the cosine of x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3/4. Remember, with square roots, we have to add the plus or minus sign. And this, before we continue with the cosine part, we can simplify this a bit, right? We can separate the top part of this with the bottom part of the square root sign. So the top part could stay as square root of 3. But the bottom part becomes the square root of 4, which we know is just 2. So the cosine of x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3 over 2. Once you get here, you should notice immediately that these numbers resemble the numbers you see on your unit circle. So please refer back to your unit circle graph to note that the cosine of x at root 3 over 2, whether it's positive or negative, occurs when x is equal to pi over 6 as well as 5 pi over 6. You can also solve this by taking the inverse cosine of both sides, using your graphing utility or using your calculator. The thing about that is sometimes they might not give it to you with the pi, they'll give it to you as an actual decimal. Right? But it's so much easier to just refer to this as the actual fraction with the pi's. And also, we have to remember that since this unit circle revolves around endlessly, infinitely, that it's not just pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6, but that this occurs at every pi. Every time it goes around 180 degrees, we're going to get to the same cosine of x. So in other words, the answer really is pi over 6 plus n pi as well as 5 pi over 6 plus n times pi, with n representing any integer when multiplying pi radians, which is 180 degrees, meaning that the answers for x would apply at 180 degrees rotations. Every 180 degrees, every pi radians at pi over 6 and 5 pi over 6, we're going to get this same answer. And that is how you solve this problem.